Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team
I
in
would
the
contest that.
Bay Area. We were first. I'm JD Young, one half of the Content Boys. Kyle continues to be abducted by Australians, so we brought in the great Sheng Peng of San Jose Hockey Now and the San Jose Hockey Now podcast to talk about all that is happening with the Sharks. Sheng, how's it going, buddy?
Pretty good, man. How's it going?
It's going. It has been a very interesting weekend, and we will get to Evander Kane, Tomas Hertl, and wherever else our little teal hearts take us.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So, Sheng, of course, we have to talk about the big news coming out of the weekend, and that the news that's on every Sharks fan's mind. Did the Sharks make the right choice by getting rid of Martin Jones and having him? No, I'm kidding. Evander Kane. So the Sharks finally were able to. It looks like they're going to be able to get out of his contract. I mean, there's going to be, there's a NHL players grievance that's been filed, but it looks like the Sharks might have dodged a bullet here? Question mark.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question mark. Evander Kane isn't just going to walk away from $22 million. I believe that, just a guess, that the Sharks won't be able to walk away from all of it, but like the Mike Richards situation that has been talked about a lot, that they should be able to get out of some of it. One of the big things is the NHL coming basically in support of what the Sharks are doing, saying that the Sharks and what Bill Daly told San Jose Hockey Now, that the Sharks have adequate grounds in their mind to terminate Kane's contract. That's big. This isn't the Sharks kind of flying off on their own here.
Yeah, and you get the feeling that like they weren't just going to, if they were going to just try to terminate his contract, they would have probably done it earlier this
Oh
year.
yeah,
But
you bet. Yeah.
yeah, so it feels like they're not just going to do this all willy nilly, without actually thinking they have a reason to win this case. So I mean, so the Sharks, of course, the NHL Players Association, they filed their grievance. There's no date for that, correct? It's just going to be at some point. We'll find out when Kane will have his arbitration.
Yeah, it hasn't really been sorted out yet. No date yet. No arbitrator. Maybe it'll get settled before. So we'll see.
Yeah, and so Kane is free to sign with another team right now.
Yep, he
Oh
is.
boy, and of course, so I've heard the Oilers, I've heard the Canes. I do like the nice Photoshop of him in the Vegas Golden Knights jersey, floating out there. Any guesses? I mean, I assume he's just going to sign a 1-year prove it deal, and kind of for very little money, and then try to kind of go from there.
My thoughts are that it's got to be a team with a strong locker room, and also a team with cup aspirations. You don't
Yeah.
take that chance either way, and that's exactly what the Sharks did actually in the 2018 trade deadline. They had cup aspirations, and they had a strong locker room back then with Thornton and Pavelski and whatnot. So, of the teams that you mentioned, Tampa Bay's got that. Carolina might have that. They definitely have cup aspirations. So those are a couple teams that do come to mind that do make sense. And so we'll see. There are also teams, though. I was kind of chatting with a bunch of different people today, and there are some teams that you think would be interested, and maybe they're not. Yeah, and for a lot of the different. I hate to use the word baggage because it's too catch-all, because some of the things that Evander Kane has been alleged to have done are very, very serious. But just for
Yeah.
the purposes of this podcast, so just there's a lot going on with this guy, a lot out there, and there are a lot of reasons for teams to take pause too. Obviously, a reason why the Sharks would get rid of such a productive a player in basically his prime.
Yeah, I mean, do you think there's any chance of him maybe going over to the KHL for a little bit of time? Or because I mean, the KHL, they are like, whatever, come on over, we'll give you whatever amount of money you want to come play. If he doesn't, I assume he'll probably latch on the team, but that could be an option for him as well.
I'm fairly certain that he'll find a team here. The KHL, I think, would pay him more money, and so if a team was willing, I'm not really sure how the KHL, I guess, salary could like how that
Mhm.
works. If they can like offer Evander Kane like $5 million to come over right now, I assume that they'll be able to. He's not going to get a lot of money here. That's my belief. Too much of a
Yeah.
risk here, and so if a KHL team was willing to give him ridiculous amounts of money. Well, what does Evander Kane need more than winning a Stanley Cup? Probably money. So, so, so I can see that being a possibility, but it would take a team being willing to just throw that kind of money there. And I'm not sure. So, but I think though that is a possibility as in the not if not this year, in the coming years, just for sort of the financial kind of rewards that he can get there that he may not be able to get in the NHL anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a guy he definitely could use the money right now. So, any chance that I mean, we assume this story isn't over, but
Mhm.
there's no way he's going to be a San Jose Shark ever again, right? Like they're
Yeah, I can't really see that. I mean, just even up to the point where he got terminated, it did occur to me that if he kind of went about his business the right way with the Barracuda, and they weren't able to trade him. And then the Sharks really fell hard out of the playoff race because, yeah, I know you guys are all about the tank, but the Sharks are tied for a wild card spot right now.
yes, we will get to that. Yes.
So if the Sharks really fell hard out of it, then maybe at a certain point, Doug Wilson or Joe Will or whoever's in charge says to the guys in the room, look, you guys had your chance. We need to. If you really want to get rid of this guy this summer, then he needs to come back and play and show that he can, that he can play at the NHL level and get along with his teammates at NHL level. So let him back so you can kind of rehab his on the ice, off the ice, which I know is kind of terrible to say, but that's the reality of it.
Mhm.
So he gets a chance to do that with the Sharks, and then at that point, then maybe it'll be easier to shine him up and then trade him in the off season at that point. So I thought that I never really talked to anybody about that. So that's me kind of freelancing there. But I did think that was sort of a possibility, just because it kind of made sense. If you couldn't trade him now and you want him to, you want to take one last stab at it during the summer before you have to buy him out, then let him play with the Sharks a little bit and not combust the locker room for a month or so, and and then maybe at that point. But now though, of course, though, we're at a whole different point now, and so no, it's almost impossible to see him ever with the Sharks. Yeah.
Full
That part
on,
of
it's
it.
over.
That part of it.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
news isn't over, the whatever, but yeah, that part of it, that possibility seems like it's pretty final. And some of the responses from Bob Bugner, from Erik Karlsson
Karlsson.
are,
Yeah.
really like they really say a lot.
Yeah, those are some of those. Yeah, like they say a lot without having to say too much.
Exactly.
Responses.
Not a lot of sympathy. Bob Bugner's best was like, yeah, I'm disappointed for him. Like I'd be disappointed for everybody.
Yeah.
And Erik Carlson's classic. I haven't worried about it, and I'm not going to worry about it now.
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty telling. I mean, we've talked about it before, but when none of your teammates come out during the summer and really stick up for you, it's pretty telling.
yep.
So, yeah. But before we continue and get into some nice Tomas Hertl, we're going to take a quick break and talk to you guys about our friends over at Primal Origin Oils. If you're someone who doesn't really care about your beard or before, that's where you need to get Primal. Maybe like you never consider the benefits of treating your beard with product. Primal Origin Oils will stop the itch and make your beard look healthy and groomed. Their products are free from harmful synthetic ingredients with low impact on our planet. Primal Origin Oils makes balms, oils, and whip butter that are renowned for the best feel and beard products available. All products are fair trade certified and handcrafted in the USA. They're great. They sent me some. I got the whipped butter. It got rid of the beard dandruff, less itchy. It smells like cookies. You can't go wrong with that. So Go check out Primal Origin Oils. They challenge you to compare their ingredients and the feel in their beer to other products that they've used. They promise that you'll see and feel the difference. So check out primaloriginoils.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON to get 20% off at Primal Origin Oils. Again, use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for 20% off. All right. I think the other big question for Sharks fans, of course, is Tomas Hertl, the NHL's third star of the week. He could be a very, very attractive piece at the trade deadline. And I know the Sharks want to try to make the playoffs. As you said, they are right there in the mix for that last wild card spot. Their schedule is brutal coming up with games against Tampa, Florida, Boston, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think happens with Hertl? I mean, I guess that's a big question, right? What happens with Hertl?
I mean, I think it's going to be painful for Sharks fans, but the Sharks are sort of in the worst position right now in terms of what to do with Hertl. If they were really outright bad, it'd be very easy to kind of make that decision like, hey, we're sorry, we love you, but for the betterment of the franchise, for the picks, for the prospects, we got to trade you. If the Sharks are a cup contender, you keep him. The Sharks are in this middle place where they are noticeably better team than they were last year. This isn't last year repeated for sure, but they're a playoff fringe team, and they're a team that probably, if they go, you're expected that they would lose in the first round, if we're honest about it. So all that being said, that puts the Sharks in a tough position because we don't know where they're going to be at the trade deadline at this rate. They can be a few points up on a playoff spot. They can be a few points behind. They could be well behind. But they're probably going to be in that kind of middle area where it's going to be hard to make a decision. It's been my belief, and I've maintained this since last season, that the Sharks, the organization, they love Tomas Hertl, and they see him as a guy that can.
We all love Tomas Hertl.
That's true. An excellent point. But they can see a future for him as a leader in an organization. He's already obviously an alternate captain. But, who's the kind of guy that you want to kind of teach William Eklund, right? You want William Eklund to play with, Thomas Bordeleau, whoever you draft in the future, right? And Hertl is a guy that's learned from a Joe Pavelski, learned from a Logan Couture, learned from a Joe Thornton. And so kind of that lineage, you want Hertl is the kind of guy that drives culture. That's what the Sharks believe. And so I believe the Sharks want to re-sign him. But I also believe, or we know, Tomas Hertl has stated, and I believe him, that he really wants to win a Stanley Cup. And in interviews that we've had with Tomas Hertl, he's aware of sort of where he is in his career. He's in his prime. And you don't always get that sort of always get a chance. He's mentioned, kind of alluded to at least, guys like Marlowe and Thornton that he's seen and who have been so close to a cup and who've been so good and just, don't get there, but they're always in a position at least. And I feel like that's where Hertl always wants to be, in a position of being a cup contender. And the Sharks are not that right now. And a question, of course, then is, well, how soon can they get back to being there? And there is sort of the idea that it might not be very soon, obviously, because of all the long contracts, older players, underperforming players that they've accumulated. But then there's an argument, though, that if this Kane thing goes through and they've already bought up Martin Jones, that suddenly actually you might only really have one really, really, really ugly contract right now, right? And that's obviously Marc-Edouard Vlasic's. Other players who are paid and maybe overpaid are still performing at a fairly high level, and you can kind of work with them, if you get a little luck with William Eklund next year or whatever. So I don't know. So I'm just kind of spitballing there that maybe that there's a case there for a Doug Wilson or Joe Will to make Tomas Hertl like, hey, we're not that far away, actually. And I would say one thing for Doug Wilson, as many the hole that the Sharks are in was created by Doug Wilson. So let's not make any mistake about that. But he also was responsible for 15 really strong years of being a cup contender, which is really, really hard to do. And so Tomas Hertl might believe and trust in Doug Wilson on this. And if he does, then maybe he comes back.
Yeah. And do you think, well, I mean, back to the Hertl, like, resigning, I think especially now if the Kane contract comes off the books, like, that's makes your problem way, that because that was a big question, was like, can you afford to re-sign Hertl? And I mean, I know they don't really have too many, kind of big deals coming up. You have Hertl, Ferraro's still an RFA, so that at least that contract's gonna be cost controlled, and then you're gonna have the Timo Meier in a year as well. But like, with the Kane contract coming off the books, that kind of, hey, here's the Kane money. Why don't you take this and we'll kind of figure it out. At least that's a starting point, But I mean, with the Kane contract coming off this year, could they potentially use that if they wanted to be more aggressive at the trade deadline and be buyers and try to maybe make a bit of a run here? If Timo's playing his best, Hertl's playing out of his mind. Karlsson is the best we've seen of Karlsson since he got here. Since the 18-19 season when he got here, and Reimer's been solid. Hill's been up and down, but like, I mean, you could see if they added another piece or two where they could maybe make some noise now that they have some cap space to do that.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. Based on what they've done over the last couple of years, my first answer would be no, because over the last couple of years, they've made no serious investments in terms of free agents or big trades, right? I believe the biggest free agent they've signed over the last couple of years is Nick Menino, right, at a couple million per year, right? And so they've seemed very dedicated to the idea of a reset and let's accumulate draft picks. And yeah, let's try to add some talent, but let's kind of do it like around the sides,
Yeah.
and not making any kind of big splash kind of moves. However, this is a different opportunity, obviously, with the money suddenly available to you. So maybe if something happens where they can acquire a player at like a low cost, just for, I'm not sure how or why, but I think that's something that they will look to, a deal that off the top looks like a Sharks win, right there. They're not going to be like, for example, if Jack Eichel became available again, that kind of player. I don't think that this this extra free money is. They would not be going for a player like that, I believe. Because again, I think they want to keep their prospects, they want to keep their draft picks. So I don't think that suddenly you're going to go back to Doug Wilson gunning for it all as he was a few years ago when he acquired Evander Kane and Erik Karlsson and all that. So I don't think that's a realistic path. I think still that more likely that they just are pretty quiet. This is just a guess, but if they stay in it or close, maybe they'll add at the deadline, but there won't be anything significant or anything that will cost too high a draft pick or cost a lot of money. So even with this cap space, and I could see them doing what they did last year and being the middleman for teams and just keep picking up draft picks.
Yeah, keep weaponize that cap space, because it's not like you can take it with you, so you might as well try to weaponize it. So, before we continue, we got to talk about our good friends over at Bet Online. So, Bet Online would like to wish you a happy new betting year as they continue their march to the playoffs and beyond. Bet Online remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. So the Sharks are starting to get some guys back as we're recording this Monday night game for tonight against the Red Wings. We previewed the Red Wings last week with the Locked On Red Wings guys. So basically the same thing if you want to hear about the Red Wings. But the Sharks are starting to get a couple guys back, right? It looks like Couture is probably a game time decision as long as he gets his final. And then Lane Peterson is going to be back in the fray. And how about the defensemen, Karlsson and Middleton?
Shimmick and Karlsson both practiced in full today and together, so they haven't played a lot over Karlsson and Shimmick's 4 years here, but they played together today. They both look good out there. After practice, Bugner said that he talked to Shimmick, and Shimmick said he felt good. Karlsson and Bugner hadn't talked yet at that point, but Karlsson told us that he felt pretty good out there. But Karlsson wouldn't confirm when I asked him if he was going to play tomorrow. So it's still a little bit, we'll see, but I think most likely that they play. And so, then it looks like they had Vlasic and Milosh together and Magna and Merkley. So be interesting to see who they go with for the bottom pairing, but it probably will be Vlasic, but we'll see though. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I I feel like Merkley's kind of getting to that point where you might need to see it throw him in there for a while because it seems like he's doing really well with the Barracuda, but then like he might need to take that next step where it's, like, I mean, I know he's only played a year and a half with the Barracuda, but I mean, you did spend a first round pick on him, and at some point you need to see if as we like to say, is he a witch? Can he fly and throw him off the cliff? So, and I feel like he's played pretty well in his his limited Sharks games.
Well, I think you do that maybe when you're not trying to make the playoffs. So it comes to a later point of the year. At this point, and Ryan has played pretty well so far. But if you look at just, I mean, if we're talking about just strictly tomorrow night, right?
Yeah.
If Karlsson comes back, then you have Burns and Karlsson on the power play. There's no spot on the power play for Ryan Merkley. And if they, well, that is if they go with 4 forwards and 1 defenseman, which they have gone all year. So, but if there isn't a spot for Ryan Merkley on a power play, then suddenly you're taking away one of the big reasons why he would ever be in your lineup. And so then at that point, you might say, well, I'd rather actually have a Vlasic who can PK a little bit or a Milosh who can PK a little bit. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying that it's not so cut and dry that now, in my mind, is the time to just throw Ryan Merkley out for a few games just to see if he flies or not. But there may come a point later in the season, but we'll see. Yeah.
And then, so I know Knizhov, there's still no update on him. He's still just out in the woods somewhere getting
I
better.
actually asked Bob Bugner straight up, could he miss the entirety of the season? And Bob did not say no. He's going to be back for sure. So we'll leave it at that. He didn't say like, oh, Knizhov's out for the season, but he also didn't say like, oh, he's going to be back for sure. It sounded very I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're a big Knizhov fan, I'd be very very worried. So
oh no.
We'll leave it at that. So.
And then, so we know Benito's still on the COVID list.
Yep.
So it seems like it'll be Jasper Weatherby, Scott Reedy kind of filling in those third and fourth line centers if Couture comes back, right?
Maybe, Nick Merkley actually played ahead of Scott Reedy by the end of the game. Nick Merkley was better than Scott Reedy, I think. So I could see if Couture comes back in and Peterson comes back in, then I think Weatherby probably is a little safer of that bunch because he has been for most of the season. And then maybe Peterson and Couture take center spots over Merkley and Reedy. Because Reedy, I don't think, from what I've seen so far, I don't believe he's ready for NHL yet. And Merkley actually has shown well, but he's not a natural center. And so the Sharks may want to put somebody who is a natural center. I know Lane Peterson's not everybody's favorite, but I think that does matter to Bob Bugner and most coaches that Peterson is more used to that position at the NHL level.
And then Adam Raska might get to play too.
I think if the guys come back who are supposed to come back, I would guess not actually, because if you look at their line, so today I think the fourth line was VL, Reedy, and Raska, right? So Couture comes back, then maybe. Yeah, I think Raska might be the first to go because then maybe you put Nick Merkley in a spot on the fourth line, just for example,
Yeah.
So, and also too, the Sharks are coming off a couple of wins here and a very good performance against Philadelphia. So I'm not sure if Bob Bugner is necessarily motivated to put in kind of a young untested player like a Raska, for that energy boost when they did play quite well against the Flyers.
Yeah, I mean, and that was, a lot of people kind of gave us grief about like the Sabres game where we said it was an uninspiring win where, and I thought about the Flyers game where same score, but that was just the style of the Sharks played where it was like, it was a defensive battle the first two, and then they were able to kind of gut out a win and kind of come back behind Tomas Hertl doing Tomas Hertl things. But like, that's a much more inspiring win where it's like, you're not just, okay, we got 3 goals and we sat on our hands and didn't do anything, especially for a team that's been really struggling to find that consistency. And that's where, like, if the Sharks had won that Sabres game like 5-2 and they'd shown offensive pressure the whole game, I think that's where a lot of people maybe kind of misunderstood us. We're like, yeah, it's a win, but it wasn't the most inspiring win. So prediction for I don't know if you're much of a prediction guy, but prediction for tonight against the
I'm
Red
not.
Wings. Yeah, you're like, there will be a hockey game played. People will score goals.
You know, who knows, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
with this COVID stuff, so that actually
Yeah.
would be a very bold prediction that there will be a hockey game played tomorrow night at SAP Center. But since you're asking though, I mean, I would guess the Sharks win. Detroit is a much better team this year, but Detroit is obviously no powerhouse, and Detroit already took that game in Detroit, so. I'm guessing that the Sharks don't lose twice to the Red Wings in a week, but we'll see.
Yeah, and especially if you want to make the playoffs, you got to stack these points here whenever you can,
That's
especially
true. That's true.
with all these. You have some tough games, including the Rangers and then Pittsburgh this weekend.
Yeah, I know
Those
they
are
have Tampa Bay, and I do want to say one thing about the schedule though. I mean, I had to admit myself, like I'm not sure exactly the stretch of games when they played these teams, but remember there was that stretch. I think it was November where they had like Carolina and Toronto and
yeah.
Washington, right? And they came out of
They,
that better than we expected. I kind of thought that would be kind of where the Sharks got exposed there, and they ended up, even though they lost to Washington, they played pretty
they
well
held their own in that
defensively,
game, and
and they outplayed Carolina, and they lost to Toronto. But then they went on the road trip, the East Coast road trip, and they won the first 3 games there. So this Sharks team is, I think it's showing that they're scrappy, and they've got stuff in them that they didn't have last year or the year before, and so. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm enjoying watching it, and I will say 1.2. I don't know if you have any more questions for me actually before we jump off. So.
I was going to ask, what do you think is the reason why they have that or scrappiness or whatever this year is like? Can you point to that, or is it just like, is there maybe just different chemistry in the locker room, or what? Like, what do you think is the reason why this team has just got that they didn't have the past 2 years?
I think a few things I will point to is first that they have by and large bought into the defensive system that Bob Bugner wants them to play. And I wrote about this 3 weeks ago, and then they promptly gave up
Just the
like
defense
23
is
goals in 4
crashed.
games. but it's actually like a sort of a tactical change that you can see. And as I wrote in that article, essentially last year the Sharks, when they were in the defensive zone, if there was a chance that they were going to get the puck or gain possession, then the high forward would kind of shoot out, and or at least have that option to shoot out and try to get like the breakaway pass. And that's a great idea if it works right and you get that breakaway and that chance right. But like I said, this is the forward doing it before the Sharks actually get full possession, right? So if you don't get that full possession, what happens? You have a forward already kind of leaving the zone or kind of thinking of leaving the zone, taking a step or two out, right? Then you're behind defensively. And this year, or during training camp, the Sharks were presented with this different system where that forward, instead of shooting out when there's kind of a 50-50 or some question about the possession of the puck, would go back into the zone and help out and go back down and slot. So of course that hurts your chances, your opportunities for stretch passes, for breakaways, that sort of thing. But it has made for a better defense, better protection of the slot. I think we can all see that, like whether or not we all see the same like tactical whatever, like little details. Like in general, we can notice that in general there are more Sharks defending in the slot than there were last year on like a general basis. And so I think that's one of the things that's kind of helped with that. Obviously, too, Timo Meyer and Erik Karlsson sort of individual renaissance seasons. When you have guys like that, sort of being able to kind of make a magical play out of nothing. That helps a lot, and I need to add Tomas Hertl now too, because he's on pace for I think like 46 goals. So let's not forget him and his hot run now. But going back to the defense too, then that helps your goaltending, right? James Reimer looks a lot better. Even Adin Hill, his numbers are on the up after a strong game against Philadelphia and Buffalo, right? And that's in part, it's all kind of connected. The defense creates an environment for your goaltending to succeed. your goaltending succeeds, makes like a few big saves here and there, instead of last year where Martin Jones, God rest his soul, was asked to make a great save,
Every 2 seconds.
every
Yeah.
2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot less pressure on a Reimer and Hill to come up, and that helps them make a big save more here and there, right? And
Yeah.
so that helps you sort of manage the game better and not feel behind and not feel like you had to cheat for
Mhm.
offense. And so you stay closer in games. And so you sort of that scrappier kind of element, right? But then another part of it too is you have the right guys. I think it's underrated, and obviously, especially Nick Bonino hasn't quite produced offensively like people want, but both Bonino and Cogliano, those are guys that most of the time they're going to make the right decision, not just
Yeah.
the right play with the puck, but they're going to go to the right place without the puck. And so that matters a lot for sort of the team defensive structure. And not to, there's been a lot of sort of negativity around like a Dylan Gambrell, and he tried his best, but you want like a old pro like Nick Bonino in the third line center spot instead of kind of a raw youngish player like Gambrell. Wasn't fair to Gambrell last year.
No, I mean
But
he was definitely playing above his weight there
yeah,
on that
for
and
sure.
that for a good chunk. And remember the second line, Nick, Dylan Gambrell. Remember those games?
Yes, the good old. No,
The
I
good
try
old
to
days.
forget those because I actually went to every game at SAP Center, so I try to forget forget what I watched last year. And I did actually want to make one somewhat related, but not but about the idea of, I know you guys are about the tank or the cell tank
Mm,
or whatever, right? But I think one of the things that I've liked this year, and you talk about the winning culture, right?
yeah.
And I know that's sort of cliche, and a lot of people may not believe in it as much as like your general hockey man believes in it, right? But who would you rather have a Jasper Weatherby learn from? Do you want him to be, with a Nick Bonino all season? Watch how Bonino
Yeah.
prepares. Watch how, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
Even if the Sharks miss the playoffs by, say, 5 points, like, they make a nice run of it, but they come up short, which is, I think very
Mhm.
realistic, right? Right now they're on pace for 89 points, right? So let's say they get there, which is a huge improvement actually over what the previous two Bugner teams. They were, I think, prorated over 82 games. It was like 72 points, 74 points. That's what
Yeah.
I did
That's a
that
big jump.
math.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a significant jump,
Yeah.
but it's not just that. You miss out on playoffs, sure. Your draft pick does get worse for sure, no question. But then though, Joshua Weatherby has watched Nick Bonino all year. That's just an example. I mean, there's other players that we could talk about, other young players coming in, and
Mhm.
just who they're watching, who they're learning from, and does that. Let's say Noel Gregor. Noel Gregor finally, gets a competitive team to play on, and so he's watching Andrew Cogliano prepare every night. And can that Gregor or Weatherby help you a couple of years from now when Eklund maybe is in his prime and Hertl is still here? Suddenly you have role players there that have learned from some of the best, and they can really help you there instead of kind of flying by the seat of their pants, which they were doing. Noel Gregor, right, over the last couple
Yeah.
of years, or Dylan Gambro, or whatever. So that's sort of my argument there for that part of it. So
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a fair point, and I think that's something that we don't take into account a lot. It's easy to say, "Oh, just tank, blow it up," but it's like, there is that development part of like, yeah, but if you do that, you're hurting the young guys on the team right now, or who are here right now, trying to work hard and get better, and stuff like that. So, but we just want a shiny new toy for Eklund. That's all.
well, you can
If you
still
play-
get it though. If
yeah.
you, I would say if you believe in your scouting staff, and the Sharks do believe in their scouting staff,
Yes.
you can get a Tomas Hertl in the mid first round like they did before. I know it's not as likely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously we know how that works statistically, but if you trust in your scouting staff, then you're gonna, then it does. I mean, I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter where you draft, but it does matter. But you can still do well, right?
Yeah.
Wherever you draft, as if you believe in your staff and your staff does a good job.
Yeah. So we'll be kicking off our draft coverage next week. The good.
That's very
The
early, guys.
Yes. Well, I mean, us, we try to profile like 25 of the different, I think we're gonna try to do like 20, 25 different profiles on first round pick. Like, we are very thorough with our draft, and we will plant our flag and in our goal to try to find William Eklund a friend.
You guys are
Yeah,
committed to the tank, so I'm
we
gonna
are
give you guys
committed.
that.
We have built a brand. Sheng, this. The brand is strong. But
In the Sharks alternate universe, you guys are, accumulating top 10 picks.
just constantly.
Burns has been traded off for like a 5th round pick somewhere, right? Yeah.
Yep. No salary retained either.
No salary retained, anything.
No
Just
salary
no salary
retained.
retained. You're gone. Yeah.
Yep. So, but yeah, we're gonna kick off. Will Scouch has been, we've been itching to get him on, so he'll be on next week.
Awesome.
I will of course have a recap of tonight's Red Wings game and get you guys set up for the Rangers and all the other fun stuff coming up. Sheng, what do you got going on? Any cool articles coming out? Any little features? Anything you can drop for us?
Sure. Yeah, I'm working on something on Mario Ferraro. Just sort of people always say sort of the obvious things with Mario when we watch the game. Oh, he's so energetic. He's so this or that, right? But just, precisely what does he do well in the defensive zone? And I know there's some debate over that because I know some of his underlyings aren't as strong, and sometimes because he and Brent Burns have to face the opposition's best line usually. They're plus minus whatever. They doesn't look as great either. And so, working with Sport Logic, I found a number of precise stats where Ferraro is best on the team or best in the league. Important defensive stats too, and so that's something that I'm kind of been puttering away at for the last week or so. So that's a big one. No, it's not just block shots. That would have been a great article presented by Sport Logic. What is Mario Ferraro good at?
Blocking shots. End of article. Please subscribe to San Jose Hockey Now. So yes. Where can the people, if you're listening to us and you don't know who Sheng is, I have no hope for you. But anyway, where can the people find you, Sheng?
Well, in your handy graphic here, it's actually right there, Sheng_Peng on Twitter, and find all my work at San Jose Hockey Now and NBC Sharks. And yeah, thanks for the plug for our podcast here, the San Jose Hockey Now podcast, the premier Bay Area hockey podcast.
That's debatable. You could find the real premier, the real premier Bay Area hockey podcast. Yes, is on Twitter at Locked On Sharks. Also Facebook and Instagram, where we're posting our stuff there. You can, of course, subscribe to us on YouTube. We've hit 500 with the march to 1,000 subscribers. So Kyle and I.
What are you doing for your 1,000 subscriber? You got to do something. You got to top.
We have something that we are not quite ready. I will talk to you about it offline, but we will have something.
Oh wow, requires talking to me.
Yeah, I will. Yes, that is.
I want to know. I may need plausible deniability on this one. Huh?
Yes. So yes, we have something that we will. The right time to reveal will be revealed, but
sure.
So make sure you guys subscribe. Of course, you can listen to us free and all that. Wherever you get your podcasts, you're listening to us.
Wait,
now, so.
Is it? Are you going to imitate Sharky hanging midair in the rafters?
That's a good one.
That's a good one,
but
right?
No, we have to break. I'm gonna need your help to break in the SAP Center, but no.
That should be a 10,000 one because that honestly will be. You're risking your life on that one.
I'm risking my life for that because Kyle's not going to do that, so
exactly.
That will be me. But yeah, so make sure you guys subscribe, listen, all that fun stuff. Go check out Sheng's podcast that he does as well. It's only once a week, while we do it 5 times a week. So that's why we are the premier, because we're always in your feeds. We provide the content that people crave.
Yeah, but my one podcast is longer than your 5 combined for the week, probably.
I don't know. What, yours is like an hour and a half?
Yeah, we go 2. Yeah, we get to close to 2. Yeah, close to 2.
2.5 hours because we do 5 30-minute.
Yeah, but you're counting ads and all that stuff. So yeah.
We're at 37 minutes right now. Anyway,
that's because you have me on. I talk a lot. So.
Yes, that's fine. But people don't care, so they want it. All right, go check out one of the other great podcasts. You can go check out the Locked On Red Wings if you want to get ready for tonight's game, or the Locked On Rangers, Locked On Penguins. Go check out Locked On Bets if you want to go make some money. Go help pay for those Christmas gifts that you bought over Christmas, or any of our other fine Locked On podcasts, wherever you get podcasts.